Hello, I'm Steve Osunsami, and this is Newsmakers with ABC News and Yahoo News. He's our 39th president, a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the author of more than 24 books. And now President Jimmy Carter has written about human rights abuses against women and girls worldwide. It's called A Call to Action: Women, Religion, Violence, and Power. You write a lot in your book about women's issues and really are an advocate for women around the world. Would you consider yourself a feminist?
Well, yes, of course. If a feminist is someone who believes that women should not be persecuted and women should have equal rights to men in all aspects of life, yes, I think all men ought to be feminists, as a matter of fact.
What about religious leaders, and how much does religion play into the persecution of women across the world?
Well, I think the misinterpretation of religious scriptures is one of the foundations for the abuse of women and girls. Because if a husband has a wife, or if an employer has a female employee, and they see, and they're religious, for instance, and they see that a woman is not equal in the eyes of men, in the eyes of God, why should they treat their wives equally? Or why should they pay their female employees an equal salary? So this kind of leads indirectly, at least, to the abuse of women.
You were careful not to single out any particular country as the worst offender.
No, I think not. I hold the United States perhaps most responsible, because we have the potential for correcting our own mistakes and then going into other countries in a very benevolent way and helping them to decide on their own initiative that they can correct some of the problems that exist. But no, I don't look on any other country as a villain. As a matter of fact, in this hemisphere, the best country for women's rights, it happens to be Nicaragua. And that's judged by a business organization called the World Economic Forum. For the last 7 years, they've rated every country on earth in how the women compared to men in being treated equally. Nicaragua is number 7 in the whole world.
You write in your book about sex trafficking. That's one of the topics.
The U.S. State Department is now required by the Congress to make a report every year. And last year, the trafficking in human beings, slaves, was $32 billion, most of which went to the richer countries. And the State Department reported that there were 800,000 people sold across international borders last year, and 80% of those were girls being sold into sexual slavery. The United States has about 100,000 girls every year sold into bondage as prostitutes against their wishes. And Atlanta, Georgia, where we are right now, is the #1 trading post for this sexual trafficking. About 200 to 300 girls per month come into the largest airport on earth here in Atlanta. And a lot of those girls in Atlanta come from the southern hemisphere, where they're from Latin America or from Africa, and where their skins are dark, then a brothel owner can buy a girl cheaper than he can if she's a totally white girl. They can buy a prostitute against her wishes for about $1,000. And this goes on every day in the United States of America. It's not just some remote place in the world.
Third world problem.
Yeah.
What should the average person be doing to make however small a difference?
Well, you could maybe tell them to read the book or read one like it, because at the end of the book, there are 23 things that I spell out that every American ought to be doing to get away from this horrible abuse of women and girls, and around the world as well. And for instance, we can make sure that on college campuses, on university campuses, that when a girl is raped, she's encouraged to report her rapist. But only 1 out of 25 cases of sexual abuse on university campuses, including the University of Georgia and Georgia State University and Emory University, where I teach, and Harvard and Yale and so forth, are reported, because the college presidents and deans don't want it to be known that girls are being raped on the college campuses. And we have the same problem in the military, where we had, in 2012, the military reports, there were 26,000 sexual abuse cases in the military. Only about 300 of those were the rapist or the sexual abuser punished. That's about 1%. And so the problem there is that commanding officers are the ones that can either bring or not bring a legal case against the rapist. And they decide not to because they don't want it to be a reflection on themselves and their leadership to know that sexual assaults are taking place on their ship or in their company.
Well, I hear you're #2 on the bestsellers list, and I'm sure that you're going to remain there for some time. So a lot more people are going to be reading this book.
That happened the first week, as a matter of fact, jumped up to #2, and that's the fastest one of my books has ever gotten near the top. This is my 28th book, and it's by far the most important book I've ever written in my life.